violent conflict. Talking about conflict, we are discussing the South Sudanese conflict, the youngest nation in the world, which the civil war has seen over 400,000 people have been killed, 2.2 million have been displaced, and another 2.3 have fled the nation to neighboring countries, including Kenya. This is according to the United Nations. The country will hold its first election in December of this year, which the elections were pushed by 2 years. Yes, and for that and more, we are discussing that with Buoth Riek. I'm hoping I've gotten that well. The last one has the GAC, yeah? Who is the chairman of Senior Youth of South Sudan. And better still, he's also a lawyer, so he understands the law. And being a lawyer in a country which is quite young, the youngest in the world, but still conflict. Over 400,000 people have been killed. Maybe to start us off, the last time we checked, there was more or less like a transitional government where the Salva Kiir, the president, had his deputy, Riek Machar.
Yes.
But the peace efforts kind of crumbled in 2018?
Absolutely, yes.
Tell us a history about that conflict for the benefit of our
Yes, thank you very much, Ben Troy. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you to you and the members of the KBC for giving me this opportunity to speak with you on these important issues of peace and integration of our people that have been divided by the conflict for the last almost 50 years, because even after getting independence, there had not been a chance for people to be brought together after the crisis. So I'm really happy. As you say, my name is Buoth Riek, and I'm really grateful to be here with you. With regards to the peace crumbling, that's true, because remember, the peace that people were trying to implement was first signed in August 2015. It was called, Agreement on the Resolution of the Conflict in South Sudan. And then after that, it brought the two principles together in 2015 actually, and in 2016 the war broke out again in State House. That later forced Machar to run away, goes all the way to Congo, and with the efforts of many grantors, the IGAD, AU, that comes together again and signed what is called the revitalized agreement on the solution of the conflict in South Sudan, and that brought Machar back to the country. From that time to this moment, really nothing has taken place in terms of the objective of the peace agreement, reconciling the members, drafting the first constitution, and addressing the root causes of the conflict. What has really happened is that the agreement had brought Machar, to the country. But still, Machar is not moving. Since the time he's stepping into the country, into Juba, he has not moved out of the capital. So it's literally in prisons, and that gives a doubt whether really there's the peace in the country. And other than that, there has been also other conflicts, communal conflict, state-sponsored conflicts that are also happening in the communities. And when that peace was also entered between Machar and Salva Kiir, another small party, there are also other groups known as the opposition, the non-signatory groups that are also saying, no, we don't want to be part of this peace agreement for reasons that the root causes of the conflict had not been addressed. So really, the country is partly in peace and partly not in peace.
Yeah, and the peace efforts led to a conversation in Rome where the Pope was. And I remember one of the most iconic things that the Pope did was to kiss the feet of Riek Machar and Salva Kiir.
Yes.
But unfortunately, these peace efforts seem to have collapsed in last year.
It doesn't really collapse. And before I say anything about that, I think what Pope has done was a very great demonstrations of humility. We really remember that incident, that sign of letting Kiir and Machar to humble themselves, to put the people first. But still, we do not really know, because these people are really obsessed with power. Everyone wanted to control power. They don't want to open up the society for people to, be able to express themselves. themselves to really redirect the country. But they are still, pushing. They're still pushing. We are also there as a member of the civil society, as members of the community, to ensuring that these people must do what they must do. In ensuring that the people are brought together, the people are integrated, and the people are given what they expected of the new nation. That is to ensure that the country is made in a way that it is equitable for all. Everybody is given a space. Everybody is given that freedom to speak up of what they want for themselves. Because the independence that we achieved in 2011 was all about the people. It's all about the next generation. There was some provision that we envisioned at that time to devolve the country, to give people the power, to elect the leader they want. So from 2011 up to now, we're supposed to have our first elections in 2015. And normally when the talks of election occurs, it appears as if it triggered the violence. You remember the country has a history of violence, the history of militarized the community. Was when we were fighting for independence, we were all militarized. When you grow up as a young boy, the first thing you do is to pick up the gun to fight. So we've not really democratized. There's a lot of challenge. Whenever we talk about elections, it appears as if we're really banning the society. And a peace agreement is something that we must implement for us to be able to achieve those objectives.
And the Rome peace efforts now. The peace efforts are coming to Nairobi.
Yes.
And yesterday, I remember the head of state said that the country and himself as the head of state is more than committed to ensure that there is a lasting peace in South Sudan.
Yes.
I'd like you to touch on that.
Yes. It was, I think, in December when the president made a request to the President Dr. William Ruto that the peace should be brought to Nairobi, and he would be the one to mediate. The advantage of that is that President Ruto almost knows everybody. Those are his brothers, those are his colleagues. And the proximity of the country is also a factor, because President Ruto will now take it as a personal responsibility. I think we thought it's a good decision, but there are other questions that are being raised. Questions that Nairobi is not safe for some South Sudanese political dissidents, opposition, because for the last few years there has been cases of deportations of South Sudanese which end up getting killed in Juba. So, and most of the opposition leaders, which are now supposed to mediate with Kiir, are living in other parts of Africa, not in Nairobi, and some are in Europe. So they think the difficulties, and again they're also asking Kiir what transpired, because the San Egidio that is mediating the peace agreement is still ready. They have been pressurizing this group. Let's come together. Let's resolve the problem. Because remember, it was last year, early last year, when the two of them disagreed.
I think it was in March or something.
Something in March, yes. When the two parties, that's the government and the opposition, had disagreed over the agenda. The government had its own preferred agenda. It didn't want to be discussed. Others had different agendas. You understand? Now, that is the cost of the problem. If that is what prompted the president to ask Dr. Ruto, I think this is something that we'll also like to hear. Yes.
Yeah, and looking at the peace efforts, of course, my director informs you that we need to cross over to Malindi. When we come back, you should be telling us what, as senior youth of Sudan, you are doing to add to the peace efforts.
Very good.
And another thing, we have seen some of the most sophisticated weapons being used. I know we have Somali, which is a transit route for weapons, but some of these weapons, they are coming from Europe. Some are coming from Asia as well.
True.
All right. Let's first of all cross over to Malindi, where delegates are meeting at Red Cross for the recruitment drive.
Ben Troy Njiwe. We are coming to you live from Malindi constituency in Kilifi County, where opposition leader Raila Odinga is meeting ODM delegates. This is his third day of his coastal tour, and today he will be meeting delegates just to drum them up for the ODM registration drive that began on Monday in Lamu County. Yesterday they were in Tana River County, and today they continue here in Kilifi County. This is a registration drive ahead of the party polls or the grassroots elections in April. So it is paramount that the ODM delegates register themselves so that they can participate in that exercise. Now in Kilifi County there are 7 constituencies. Out of them, over 500 registered voters here are subscribed to the ODM party. Now out of those, each constituency is being given as statistics as up until now. They claim that only 65% of the registered voters, or those who have been registered by the ODM party, have yet to be registered, so they are 35%. Countrywide, it is estimated that Kilifi County is top 3 when it comes to the registration of the ODM voters ahead of the grassroots in April. Now, the several factors are coming up in these meetings here at the coast. On Monday, the absence of key top leadership of the ODM party have been criticized, including the appearance of the deputy party leader Hassan Joho, who we are being briefed that he is away out of the country, and of course the absence of Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed, whose absence has been very conspicuous in these meetings. There were rumors that they had been served by show cause later. However, yesterday the party leader, the opposition party leader, came out right. The ODM party leader came out right and defended the space of this, or the loyalty of these individuals to the party, and affirmed that the ODM party is not going anywhere. It has no problems or in-house fights, saying that the party is still strong and ready for the grassroots elections that are slated for April. So what is happening right now? Behind me is a hall where the delegates are holed up. They are speaking to the Secretary General of this county, who's giving them statistics based on the constituencies, how many registered voters have been, how many ODM members have been registered per constituency out of the over 500 registered ODM members here in Kilifi County. From here, he will be heading to Marafa, that is in Magarini constituency, and he will be addressing a rally there just also to drum up some of the voters here in Kilifi County to enlist as members through the ODM party. Another important fact to note is that Kilifi County is one of the counties that voted in ODM leadership in totality during the 2022 elections. This is one of his strongholds, and we believe that him coming here to just cement and ring-fence his support base here at the coast. Of course, there have been infiltration from the UDA party. Here in Kilifi County, we have seen that out of the 7 constituencies, we have Owen Bai, who is not from the ODM leadership but from the UDA party, also trying to make inroads. The Cabinet Secretary for Gender, Aisha Juma, who lost in the gubernatorial seat, has also been making some influence. So just to ring-fence that support for the ODM party, the leadership led by the party leader Raila Odinga is here. In attendance is the governor of Kilifi County, of course his host, as well as Mombasa Gideon Maitha Mungaro, as well as Mombasa Governor Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir. Yesterday, the Mombasa governor as well as Tana River Governor Dado, they were together just to drum up support so that the voters can enlist themselves as members for the ODM party ahead of the grassroots election in April. So the Raila Odinga is yet to speak. We are still listening in to the deliberation of some of the laments, sentiments, as well as some of the issues that are cropping up amongst the members here. Once he takes center stage, of course, we'll give you those live proceedings. But as of now, we are waiting him to address, as well as the governor and as well as Mombasa Governor Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir. However, let me hand it back to you, Ben Trenjwe, as we listen in. And of course, at the top of the hour, we'll give you more issues that continue to crop up in this delegates meeting as the ODM party leader continues with his ODM registration drive here at the Coast Region. Tomorrow, he will be in Kwale County, and the next day, he will be in Taita Taveta County, then wind up in Mombasa County. So we'll give you those live proceedings as soon as we have them. But for now, Ben Trenjua from Kilifi County, I hand it back to you in studio.
Thank you, June Karisa, live from Malindi, where the ODM party party leader, beg your pardon, Raila Odinga is in the coast to drum up support for his party. Today, we are having a recruitment drive between 2 and 4 p.m. at Marafa. And as you've heard, as we speak, delegates are meeting at the Red Cross in Malindi to drum up support and also try and fortify the party's strength. Remember, ODM has a strong following in the Coast Region. June will be back as soon as we have the leader of Azimio and ODM, Raila Odinga. But back to our conversation, we are looking at the South Sudan conflict. Yesterday, even the president did post in his Facebook account that he is more than committed to the South Sudan Peace Accord. And we have Buoth, who is the chairman of Senior Youth of South Sudan and also a trained lawyer. And back to the question before we crossed over to Malindi.
Yes.
I was asking about what, as Senior Youth of South Sudan, you are doing to actualize the peace. That is one. And where are these very sophisticated arms coming from?
Thank you very much for the question, Ben. The Senior Youth of South Sudan is a movement of professionals, South Sudanese young professionals, opinion leaders, whose motto is organize, not agonize. It was established in 2013 with the objective of organizing students to protest against violence and championing for good governance and against vices like corruption in the country. It's a movement of groups that have decided to step into the shoes of those who fought for independence. Because if you look at the history of people like the many leaders, in fact, those of Riek, Machar, Lamakol, and even Salva Kiir himself, they joined the movement that fought for independence when they were young boys. So we're now taking over from where they left, because some of them are now even turning to become things that we do not understand. So it's a movement that is calling for good governance, is calling for democracy, is calling for revivals of our vision. That is equality, the rule of law, constitutionalism, and unity of our people. It was established in 2013, and it has, called for several good things that have been materialized in the country. We organized ourselves actually almost 1 week after the violence erupted in Juba. We called for peace, and our voice was heard. We called for several opposition leaders that have been arrested without the due process of law, and asked the entities that are mediating the agreement to ensure that these people are released and participate in these discussions. For example, when Machar was confined in South Africa, we organized many of our members, youth, that Machar should be released and be brought back to the agreement, to the peace negotiations. And with those calls, Machar was able to be released and participate in this discussion. In fact, the agreement that's being implemented is a result of our protests, result of our demands, that every member should be brought in, because the principle of negotiations were inclusivity of all members, not just politicians, but also the faith-based group, the civil society. And if you look at the agreement, I just left it somewhere, it has the signatures of several groups, though some of us are not, have not been involved in the implementation agreement in the sense that we've not been given space to participate in government. But we're also, playing a role outside. So that is what the senior youth has been doing. It's a movement that is bringing everybody together. And we are calling ourselves senior youth because we believe that we are a group of people that are seeking freedom for the first time. You remember, we fought for many years, and we do not subscribe to this. Our youth, the definition of youth in the senior youth concept is really not. It's not the way it has been defined. The definition that have been provided in some statutes, national statutes. We believe a youth is somebody who is enjoying freedom for the first time. Remember, when our country was at war, we were confined. We were not given a space. So it is now that many of us, even those who had fought for liberation, are now enjoying freedom, are now coming to school. Some of us are in primary schools, in high schools, at the age of almost starting 30 years. You find people in secondary school at the age of 40. So how do you now say these people have surpassed the age of a youth? So we are saying we do not subscribe to the definition of the youth that have been provided in some statute, like the UN's conventions, the African Union conventions. So we are defining youth from our own experiences.
Okay.
Yes. So yes.
And I'm looking at South Sudan, the youngest country in the world.
Yes.
The country doesn't have a permanent constitution.
Yes.
A census has never been conducted.
Yes.
Security arrangements, something else, because actually you are having a lot of internal wrangles.
Yes.
Is this country ready for 2024 elections?
Before I come to that, I think there's something you mentioned about the weapon that have been used in the conflict. In the conflict, the UN have imposed sanctions on the government of South Sudan, and they have not been buying weapons for the last few years. But of course, there are always raw countries in the regions and the other parts of Africa and the world. We do not subscribe to what members have agreed. So they're still snaking in weapon, and South Sudan have been entering into agreement with certain countries, to import weapon on their behalf. So we still have a lot of weapon in South Sudan, and even before the conflict erupted, a lot of investment that were done in South Sudan were channels to the importation of weapons, because after independence, the leadership felt that they were having threats, with the Khartoum, our former country. So the target was that if Khartoum, shown its aggressive behavior, we are going to fight, which was actually done, because you remember. There was a violence that occurred, a war that occurred between South Sudan and South Sudan over the place called Heglik or Pantho. So in 2012, So what we have been doing all along was actual fighting, because the CPA, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, had some provisions that are not being implemented. The key provision of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement were giving referendum to people of South Sudan, to the people of FBA, and conduct a public consultation for the people of Blue Nile and the Nuba Mountain. So those were not done, and from the very onset, Sudan was opposed to implement the agreement entirely. So it was implemented the agreement selectively, right? So the investment of the people of South Sudan was put in the weapon to safeguard the territorial integrity of the country, to defend the independence of the country. So guns were brought, there were a lot of guns in the country. And now when the conflict erupted in 2013, also guns were brought in. Guns were purchased. Yes, so we still have guns even after the country had experienced sanctions. Yes, and it is very worrying. It's very worrying, and that is why you find nearly almost everyone in the government has been sanctioned. People cannot travel. Either they are facing travel bans, the money freeze because of such. Guns are almost everywhere in the country. The civilians are armed, right? And that is why you find a lot of death. That's the reason why you saw those figures, in the country. Yes, but I think the sanction had helped in reducing the influx of this weapons into the country. Yes. And
we are talking about 11 months, and you have been in the country.
Yes.
Maybe you've been in Kenya when we did our 2022 elections.
Yes.
And you've seen how complex our elections were.
Yes.
And we are developing.
Yes.
We are developing economy.
Yes.
But South Sudan is a little bit younger.
Yes.
You're calling it the youngest nation
Absolutely,
in the world.
absolutely. Yes. That's fact.
We are in the middle
Yes.
of peace talks.
Yes.
You don't even have a constitution,
Yes.
a permanent one
Yes.
that you've drafted yourself.
Yes.
And even you don't have a census, so we cannot even know exactly how the semantics are.
Yes.
Is that country ready for elections? To be
The country is ready for election, whether day or night.
Whether the peace talks are still ongoing?
Let me bring out this thought. The country is ready for election because for many reasons. One is that the agreement had brought up a government that is so huge, with almost 700 member of parliaments, a huge government with 5 vice presidents.
Very bloated.
Yes, very bloated. You know, whatever that comes out of the national coffers goes into these people's pocket, right? So the call for election is a call for revolution, you know, to bring in a government that will cater for their needs. I mean, a lean government of people that they elected, right? So even if there will be some irregularities, but at least the election will bring in a few people that will at least, you know, give them something, left them something for the people, for development, for infrastructure, you know, for hospital to be conducted. That's number one. Two, the constitution that you talk about. I mean, the election itself is not an end in itself, it's a mean to an end. So there are certain things, you know, you talk about census, you know, those were things that were supposed to be done by the forced independent government, but they have not been. Now they have been brought back. And the timeline is also very small. But look at it. We did an election in 2010, the election that, in 2010, you know, the whole Sudan elections, before we became independent. And after that, we began preparations for 2011 referendum that give us our independence. So I think there's still time. The only problem is that we are lacking a political goodwill to be able to do these things with the speed that it requires. But I agree with you that, you know, preparing a constitution in a country that is very insecure, in a country where majority of people have left the country, it is difficult, right? And that is the challenge, because the constitution is the requirement of the agreement. The basis of election is the constitution. It says for us to go for election, we must have a constitution, you know? You get the point. And the interim constitution that we have has been made in a way that it is, behind the current constitution. They says if the constitution the transitional constitution that we have conflict with the agreement prevails. So what would the agreement is actually a constitution. So it says for us to have an elections, we must first do a census for us to know the country. When we got independent in 2011, we had, according to the World Bank, 2019, they says the population is estimated to be at about 12 million. Right? And at this moment, I think we need, and I believe, just like the other drafters who made the agreement, there must be a constitution. There must be a census to be conducted. But even those are there are many other, things that actually are very important. For example, the security arrangement, because the conflict has divided our country from all levels. You know, Machar has his own army, other groups have their own army, Kir has their own army, which are predominantly, tribal. You know, so we need, the agreement says, let us integrate, let us bring the forces together, because we can't have an agreement, Ben, when I have my own army, you have your own army, that are affiliated to you, because the army that we have in South Sudan is, a party-dominated army. The SPLM, SPLA, right? Though it has been changed to us South Sudan, Sudan People Defense Force, but still by action and theory and policy, it's still affiliated to one party. You get that? So you can imagine from here, from where you sit, a country that will go for election without those things, without security, arrangement being completed, without a census, without a constitution. But there are certain things we can do. Yeah, right? For example, if we open up the society where I am able to express myself, because this conflict is characterized by extreme abuse of human rights. People cannot be able to really speak up, right? The president in 2016 established a national dialogue, committee that went around and asked people. And the recommendation of those people, of the people of South Sudan, was that President Salva Riek Machar should step aside for us to have a smooth transition.
It makes sense, because the two gentlemen have been in power since Sudan became a republic.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they have never had an opportunity to agree and form a government. But now we have a chance because we have elections. But most likely, unfortunately, we have one of those two leaders as a head of state. Do you believe that we'll have a change, or as a country you believe maybe we need fresh blood?
If people do not manage this election, there will be a genocide, I'm afraid. And it's good we are saying this early. This may be very strange words, but the facts on the ground lead to this direction. Because if the 2015 elections, when we had not died a lot in that number, causes this conflict, now we are going to, the elections period have arrived when we have not even really shake hands. Machar himself cannot move out of Juba, cannot even attend church service since 2018 when he went to Juba. He's just been confined in Nairobi. The other opposition parties, the chief of staff, several army officials are outside. This group now that I want to meet with the president.
And I'm hoping that there will be lasting peace, because the head of state our head of state has expressed personally that he reached out and hold out opposition party and expressed his desire to ensure that an inclusive and equitable mediation. Away from that, you've mentioned something that the UN has also mentioned in terms of human rights perspective. We continue to document serious cases of human rights violation. And here at KBC we have a program called Military Tales. I've interviewed military veterans who have been in numerous United Nations peacekeeping missions in South Sudan. But unfortunately, we're talking about 400,000 people murdered within a space of less than 10 years. Do you believe that South Sudan maybe needs more peacekeeping forces, and especially in the light of the elections that you're going to
if you look at the number of the peacekeeping forces that are in South Sudan, they're sufficient. But at some point we think they are not doing enough. And that is also not good, because we cannot keep complaining, because the problem emanated from the bad leadership that we have in the country. I think they have done quite well. I think at the moment I can say it's one of the countries that hosts a number of foreign groups, either NGOs, because and UNIMIS, the United Nations mission in South Sudan has been doing a lot. Almost literally every state has got an IDP camp. They are the one, protecting those people. I think I would not suggest that we need more peacekeeping missions. The one that we have in the countries are enough, and they're doing a good work. The only problem is that they are dealing with militants, rock leaders who do not adhere to what they are agreed on. Because sometimes you will find, whenever the conflict erupts, people will storm UN camp, want to kill vulnerable people. Against the military rule, right? Killing non-combatants is something that violates the military, principles. You don't do that, and themselves they know, because they have been, they are well trained even before, during the Sudan's day. I would be shy to say we need more. My only suggestion would be that they speak up very well. They speak up boldly against anybody among these principles who do not adhere to these rules. My state, where I come from, is literally a state governed by the UNIMIS, because almost everybody is in IDP camp, and they are the one protecting the civilians, right? And I believe they are doing a wonderful job. They're doing a wonderful job, and they still need to be there. We had protested. There was a time when they said they wanted to move out, and we protested, say no, you have a duty, and through our calls, the mandate has been extended by the United Nations, and because of several vices that are happening, the abuse of women, the children, also being illegally recruited to the army. So when they leave, they will now give room, for these combatants to actually recruit children into their camps, into the military camps. So I think they are doing a wonderful job, and the only thing we can do is to call on them to do more. Because if you remember, there was a time, especially when the crisis occurred in 2016, several groups actually attributed blames on some of them for being reluctant. And then another call is also on institutions that have been established by the agreements, institutions that are charged with the responsibility to implement, to oversee the transition. They're also not speaking up. I think they need also to do more, to press on the people. Actually, because that will lead to people having confidence. Confidence in these processes. Confidence in believing that the election will be done in a manner that will be transparent. So human rights is really an issue. If you look at the recent report by the Commission of Human Rights in South Sudan, titles Entrenched Oppression, you will find, the civil space as shrunken. It's completely almost not there. And that is the recipe for disaster. When you have, because some of our justice, some of the justice that we want, Ben, is also we need to speak up of what we want to see in our country.
All right.
We're not really saying give me this. No, we're not saying leave me free to speak of what I want. Yeah. We're not saying no. Some of the things, because there are several types of restorative justice. A lot of things that happen. You cannot really bring me back. If I've lost my house, if my home had destroyed, you can't take me back. It is difficult. But let us restrain ourselves. Leave me to grow. Leave me to think. Because the Constitution emanated from the views of the society, our cultures. We had a constitution, the Constitution of Sudan, that wanted to Islamize everyone, wanted to Arabize everyone. We are saying, no, we are African. We want to do our things our way.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And because of the interest of time, I'm looking at the conflict in the region. Yes. Your big brother, Sudan,
yes,
is in a civil war.
Yes.
Looking at Ethiopia has had its share of conflict in the Tigray region.
Yes.
Somalia is another story altogether.
Yes.
Do you believe these are some of the things that are fueling the conflict in South Sudan?
We think. So
the conflict in the region.
Yes.
Because mostly you find that when a country is having some turmoil or civil war, another one, you are surrounded. Actually, Kenya, we are surrounded by countries. A good example is Kenya. We are dealing with Al-Shabaab from another country who are fueling the insecurity in some parts of the country in the north. Do you believe that some of the conflict in the region are fueling the fire in South Sudan?
Absolutely. Because when you remember earlier, you talked of proliferation of weapons. Sudan covers big parts of it's actually a big neighbor, because if you look at the northern part, Sudan borders almost 4 states, starting from Malakal, Unity States, Jonglei States, all the way to northern Bahr el Ghazal. So with the crisis in Sudan, a lot of weapons have come in, and what you say is true, because conflicts has been part and parcel of the Sudanese history. There is no time, and that's why you find President Museveni the other day was saying, we cannot always solve problem through violence. You term them unprincipled wars. Because there are certain conflicts, certain disputes that can be solved by negotiation and people coming together. So this behavior of people fighting has also been something that people are learning from. Because why would Sudan be descent into the crisis? That violence that's happening in Sudan is uncalled for. Because they have just removed President Bashir through the People's Revolution, and the agreement was that, which was actually brokered by IGAD, was that the military was to be part and parcel of the transition.
All right.
In about 8 months, and they are now going now to proceed the elections.
Okay.
Now this conflict erupted between the two generals who are actually buddy. But so this war is really uncalled for, and we need serious actions. The mediators should see into it that this behavior among the Sudanese people should be brought to an end.
In 1 minute,
yes.
In 1 minute, your final sentiments, and
Yes.
more specifically, you can touch on the role of the youth in supporting the country in peace efforts
Yes.
and in the upcoming elections.
Thank you so much. The youth are an integral part of our society, and they have a huge role to play, and they have been doing that for over the years. I wanted to remind them of the statement that was once made by John Kennedy, of Kennedy, who said that ask what you can do for your country, not what a country can do for you. So we have a duty to play. We do not need to be complacent. Nobody is going to do this for us. The future is ours. So we have a duty to speak up. To speak up, to pick what you think is possible in ensuring that peace is implemented, because we are literally the one that are in the field. The elders do not fight. South Africa do not fight. One example was when the conflict occurred in 2016. They were in one room and they didn't fight. Okay. So we cannot continue to be used as a powder of war. The only power we have is to speak up and to avoid, non-violent. We are the glue that can bring the country together.
Thank you so much, Buoth, who is the chairman senior youth of Sudan and also a trained lawyer, putting things into perspectives in regards to the peace efforts in South Sudan. Remember, now the talks are here in the country. President William Ruto yesterday affirming his commitment and the country's commitment to ensure that our neighbors and our brothers, South Sudan, have lasting peace and in the wake of elections this year. Of course, we'll be keeping tabs to know exactly how the peace efforts are going on from Rome now to Nairobi. And thank you indeed so much for joining us. My name is Bentro Njoya. It's always a pleasure. Let's continue the conversation on social media. Lensa Odingo was our sign language interpreter when we began, but now Anwangeshi is our sign language interpreter. Khalid Abdullahi is coming up next with Tamrini and Kurunzi Mashinani.